trying to tell you why we're here and why we invited you as our heroes here. And it's all about the word duty. I think all of you know what duty means. It means that when you get a call to come, you show up, you stand up, you go for our police and for our firemen, for our first responders, for our EMTs, for our park service, and for all of our people that serve us here. They understand the word duty. The word duty means you stand in the place of someone else, that when that call comes, you're the first one in the door. You're the first one to go find someone who's in trouble and needs to be rescued. You're the first one to take care of the hurting, the wounded, and the broken. Duty means you put yourself above anyone else. You put everyone else above yourself. You know the call of duty. It's what calls you to do what you do today. One thing about duty is it's a compulsion. It's that feeling that I must do what I must do. It's when you see someone that's in trouble, that you're the first one to run to them. In my opinion, that's a hero. You know, there are those that are foolish, that just run into danger for no reason. But then there are those fully knowing the danger, fully knowing the possibility of sacrifice, disregarding that for the fact of their brother and sister who is in trouble, they run headlong into the fire. They run headlong into the danger. They step between us and danger that's coming toward us. So today, I see that as duty. There's one other duty that's due, and that's for me and for the rest of us here. We have a duty to honor those who have taken our place on the front line. Those that have willfully taken up courage within their heart and entered into that dark place, that dangerous world, that place where protection needs to come, and they went in our place. So today we want to honor you, and this is an annual thing that we will do here in our town, is to honor our first responders, all of them that stepped forward to protect us and to guard us and to keep us safe. So today we just thank you for coming. It's for you that we come together today, and to honor you. Thank you for your call to duty. Today it's our duty to honor you as our hometown heroes.
Good morning. No, I don't know if this is the right thing to follow a speaker like Father George is, because you understand him. I don't know if you can understand me with my Midwestern dialect. I want to greet you first responders first of all and say thank you for your service. I also like to thank the Knights of Columbus, Hands of Mary, and other people who work here to make your breakfast. Last year, this time, the gentleman in charge for this breakfast was Phil Giraldo, I believe. He done an excellent job yesterday, or last year. 2 days after this, he had a heart attack and died. So this breakfast is also in remembrance of him. I also like to thank Peggy Bodeman, who with some help done the decoration here. And she's a little bit shy, but she done a good job. Ladies and gentlemen, most Americans recognize September 11, 2001 as forever changed the world, just as December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor Day, defined an earlier generation. September 11, 2001 has determined how many of us both live and our daily lives and focus on the world around us. But unlike 1941 at Pearl Harbor, in which one nation attacked our military installation, in 2001 a small group of terrorists operate under no nation's flag, successfully ambushed thousands of unsuspecting innocent American civilians. September 11, 2001 at 7:46 hours, we began a typical day on a Tuesday morning. Our country held no hostility toward any nation. Our government was working peacefully, coexist with all the world. Our people were simply going about their daily routines. Everybody was busy earning a living and creating a better life of their families. What continues to shock us today is not the terrorist methods used to attack on 9/11. Today, our shock remains because 9/11, 2001, our way of life was attacked. And sadly, this attack continues after 17 years. Our United States of America, the most desirable place on this planet to live, and I attest to this personally. Not for our oceans, for the plains, not for our mountains and rivers, not for our cars, homes, jobs, and technology, but for our freedoms. Freedoms and safety that continues to be closely guarded by you, our brave, diligent first responders. Thank you for this. You, our wonderful Americans, remain ready during every moment of every day to turn toward our dangers and to protect our freedoms, our lives, and even our properties. This morning in Garland County, Arkansas, 17 years after September 11, 2001, we realized that no words, no ceremony, no flags, no tears will ever replace our country's losses. Losses that occurred during the series of 4 coordinated attacks conducted by a very small group of Islamic Al-Qaeda terrorists. Their 9/11 2000 attack killed 2,996 people, injured 6,000 others, and caused at least $10 billion in infrastructure and property damage. Our own losses includes 45 Knights of Columbus, 11 firefighters, and 6 policemen. These were Knights of Columbus, by the way. But do not include the scores of additional Americans who died of 9/11 related cancer and respiratory diseases in the months and years following the attacks. Please continue to cherish events like this one that provides us a time to come together, to pray for and remember our losses, and an opportunity to honor the courage and dedication service of the today's first responders, who stand ready 24/7, rush toward dangers, keep us all safe in our city and our country. I really want to say personally and thank you to all your first responders. This is what our community is about. I want you to know that we stand behind you and we will do whatever we can to protect you. Thank you for this. God bless you. Keep you safe. God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
I was on my way to the fire station when I heard that the plane had struck the first tower. When I arrived at the fire station, we had a morning meeting, and in the process of having the morning meeting, we were informed that the plane had struck the second tower. So I was at the fire department with my brothers at the time that that occurred.
Yeah, 17 years ago today, I was at work when the news came in that the first of the 2 twin towers came down, and we all were racing to get to a television set. And then the second tower went down. And all we could do is pray for all those who were involved.
Tommy, you were asking me where I was 17 years ago on 911. I remember it well, actually. I had just finished working the graveyard shift at the Hot Springs Police Department. was headed home when I got a phone call telling me about the first plane going into the towers. Of course, my first thought was, that's peculiar, but probably going to be an accidental or something like that. And then shortly thereafter, the second plane went in, and I realized it was a lot more than that. A day that I'll never ever forget.
Sitting in my office in Little Rock, Arkansas, working for Browning Ferris Industries, and as soon as we heard the news, all the TVs came on, and it was just a tragic event. And we watched it unfold for several hours, and just prayed for those that were lost and those that were trying to save them.
We're building a subdivision off of Albright Road, and I really didn't know all this had taken place until we went down to the lunch and everything was on TV. It was just amazing. I could not believe what had happened. A day I'll never forget where I was located. So easy.
Ladies and gentlemen, in about 10 minutes, the service in the church will start.
beautiful, just beautiful. If y'all join me in saying pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we will join her in singing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets spread the false bursting I'll leave you in seat just for a second. Before I turn it over to Father George, I'd just like to take this opportunity to welcome you all here again. Thank you for coming to join us in the parade of our community first responders and also for all the lives lost 17 years ago. I'd like to welcome a few of our dignitaries. We've got a few of our community pastors here from various different denominations. We've got our city manager, Mr. Bill Burrows, our county sheriff, Mr. Mike McCormick, our Customs Fire Department Chief, Ed Davis. We've got our police chief, Jason Stacey. We've got our state senator, Mr. Sample. We've got, I believe he's still here, our state representative, Les Warren. We've got Mr. Brian Herky, one of the sponsors of our event. Plus all of our, we've got the head of the Knights Council for the state of Arkansas, Mr. Roy Angerly. And we're all honored for all of y'all to be here. Now I'm going to turn it over to Father George. Thank you.
It was certainly moving to me to begin talking about our first responders here. We've been thinking for the last couple of years how important it is on this day, and this day in particular, to honor those who have stepped in front of us. And we can't all help but remember what happened 18 years ago, 17 years ago, checking my math. When we had all the firemen and police and all those that actually rushed in to save the lives there at the World Trade Center. The truth is, they showed us what courage is all about. And you know what? When you're motivated with that kind of courage, each one of us can get up and live our day. We know what it is to stand and to serve and to fight and to walk forward no matter what the obstacle. These men and these women have become a symbol for us of true courage. Each one of us can take something from that today. I know I do. And we muchly appreciate each and every one of you that's coming to celebrate with us today. As we begin all things, we first let us bow our heads and let us pray for God's blessing. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Oh God, from the beginning of time, loved man beyond all measure, and was the first to respond to him when he found himself in the need of a Savior. Be near, we pray, to all of our first responders today, as as they demonstrate to us the greatest love possible, the willingness to put their life in danger to help their neighbor. By your grace, help them to be generous and courageous as they serve their brothers and sisters whom they will meet this day, often in their most difficult moments and in their greatest need. O God, protector of the poor and healer of the hurting, be with our first responders today as they rescue the captives, mend the wounded, and lift up the brokenhearted. Help them to serve especially the poor, the marginalized, and the weak among us after the example of Christ and at his sacred command. May their efforts be effective, bring safety, peace, and healing to our broken world in your name. O God, who from the very beginning of time and through your wisdom and marvelous design created man and woman in such a fashion so that they would enter into a lifelong covenant with each other, the two becoming one, that through their fruitful love you might grant their children to nurture, protect, and educate with the same love that they receive freely from you. We ask you to watch over the families of our first responders this day, that no harm may come to them as their fathers and mothers put their lives on the line for us. O God, home of the homeless, security of the insecure, and hope of the hopeless, through the dedication of our first responders, keep all of our families, our neighbors, our friends, and even those who wish us harm, keep them safe this day. May not one life be lost, no property vandalized, destroyed, or stolen, nor may any evil come near us today. May the guardians of our peace in this community, our first responders, stand between us and that tragedy as Moses stood between judgment and his brothers and sisters. And like Moses, may their prayers and actions please you this day and be the cause of our blessing. We ask all this through Christ our Lord, who with you and the Holy Spirit reign in the blessed Trinity, one God forever and ever. Amen. Police officers of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey 127 fire officers were deployed to the scene. All duty firefighters were called. The first time the New York Fire Department had issued a truck reload in over 30 years. In addition to regular fire apparatus and personnel side of the incident, the New York City Fire Department also deployed its only hazmat unit, its mobile command center, its field communications unit, and 5 rescue units, both of its high-rise units, 6 of its 7 squad units, and 1 of its 2 tactical support units. Within minutes of Flight 11's impact, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey Police Department began employing officers from the Port Authority, Trans-Hudson, Bridges, Tunnels, and Airport Commanders. The Port Authority commanding officer on the scene ordered a full evacuation of the North Tower at 9 a.m. About 3 minutes before Flight 175 hit the South Tower at the same time. The Port Authority spoke to 2 most senior officers, Superintendent Ferdinand Ramon and Chief James Romito, both were not separate at the World Trade Center. Some officers were ordered into the towers to assist the stairway evacuations, while others helped with evacuations of the plaza and subway station. Superintendent Ramon was last seen helping evacuate tenants on the 45th floor of the North Tower before he collapsed, while Chief Romito was in the 35th floor region with 4 cars helping firefighters. The Port Authority lost 37 officers, including Ramon and Romito, and 1 police car in it. Several New York City Police Department officers saw Flight's impact in the North Tower and immediately reported it to dispatchers. 10 minutes after Flight 11's impact and 7 minutes before Flight 175's impact, the New York Police Department chief of the department was en route to the scene and raised the police mobilization to level 4, thereby sending 22 lieutenants, 100 sergeants, and 800 police officers to World Trade Center. The New York Police Department personnel were primarily responsible for assisting evacuations and helping with injured civilians. 3 police officers helicopters were deployed to report on conditions and assess the feasibility of rooftop landing for special rescue operations. Flight 175 had struck the South Tower. Another level 4 mobilization was ordered, bringing to almost 2,000 the number of New York City Police Department personnel on the scene. Some were ordered to enter the World Trade Center Tower to assist with the fire department's evacuations. The 23 New York City police officers included 4 sergeants and 2 detectives. Finally, 8 emergency medical technicians and paramedics for private emergency medical services lost their lives while responding to the World Trade Center. May we never forget the heroism of our first responders on that day.
Please join me in saying God bless America.
had this lesson bell. We use it every time we're here to the fire department. And this bell reminds us once again of this time we were called together to celebrate. So I'm going to ask my pastors to join me here in front, and we're going to ask God to bless this bell and sanctify it. All throughout Scripture, we see how God makes things holy. There's a place where God's presence dwells among us. So He takes those things that are natural, made by human hands, and by His anointing, by His presence, He sets them apart and makes them holy. There's such a thing we use that for His honor and glory. So today we're going to pray that God will just put His blessing on this bell. And every time this rung, that we as people will be called to that unity, which is the will for us. So I guess our pastors come forward, we'll put our hands on it. God, all the way to water, simple, your love, your care, with us, the simple Holy Spirit. We pray, Father, you would bless this water, make it sanctified and holy, that all that touch it will feel your grace and your goodness. We ask you, Father, to bless now this bell, as is the symbol of our love and care. And I say, sit your hands for everything. Thank you for this bell, this symbol of our unity together. As we pastors stand together before you, we ask you, Father, that let this be a symbol of our unity. And as we hear the one sound, we come together in one heart. May our hearts beat together as we seek to serve those who serve us. May our hearts be always thankful for our first responders, who, when they heard the bell, came without question, without pause. They ran headlong into the fire, that they might save those who have about their brothers and sisters. So, Father, inspired by their courage, we now go forth. We pray, Father, that the same spirit of courage may also bring in our hearts this day. May this bell always be set apart. May it sound be holy to us. And may it draw us to that holy one communion that is your will. This day we submit ourselves to you. And ask you to bless this bell. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Well, all right, that concludes our first service. I want to thank you all for coming over here and joining us for this for the great reflection by Father George. Wonderful, wonderful singing by Miss Steinhouse. If you would like to go back upstairs, you're welcome to do so. You're free to leave at this time. And if you like, you can stay in the church and continue to pray.
born in 1940 during World War II. I was living in a small hamlet, about 100 people living in there. I don't remember a lot from the war. The only thing what I remember is that at the age of 3, I had to join the Hitler Youth. And at the age of 3, I was trained, when I see a uniform, to click my heels together, raise my right hand 45 degrees, and holler this greeting which I really hate, Heil Hitler. Well, I was trained this way, and that's what I did for the next 2 years. The war itself passed us by. I never seen a soldier, a Russian soldier. I see many German soldiers, but no Russian soldiers. The town I was living in is east of Frankfurt on the Oder River, which right now is Poland. Before this, it was the Mark Brandenburg Prussia. In May 1945, Russians came and surrounded our town, and everybody who was a soldier or had a uniform on, they took, and I don't know where they went. One day he came in my house about 4 o'clock in the morning. I was in bed. He opened the door. I seen the uniform. I jumped out of bed and done my greeting, and I got almost shot. Fortunately, a lieutenant was with the Russian soldiers, and they told them the kids have nothing to do with the war. So my life was safe. This was the only time I seen the Russian soldiers, until about 3 months later in July. We were in church. It was on a Sunday morning. We were in church. Lucky enough, my mother had my baby sister, who was about 6 months old, in a little carriage. After the church, the Russians rounded us up, all of us, in town, and marched us out of town. We couldn't take anything along except that's what we had, what we were wearing. We marched about 40 miles to the big city, which was Frankfurt on the Oder River. This is where we stayed overnight. Nothing to eat. The next day, the march goes on to I don't know where. My sister, she was crying for hunger. And I seen some Russians in the field milking cows. I went to them and asked if I can have some milk for my little sister. She hasn't eaten in days. The Russians told me, go to Hitler. Let them feed you, you German bastard. Get out of here. Well, that's what we did. In the evening, we came to a railroad station. There was a cattle car standing, full train with cattle cars. We were put in there. We stayed there overnight. We stayed a half a day at the stations before we started moving. Nothing to eat, nothing to drink. We drove during the night and half a day. The next day we came to a railroad station. Later I found out it was in Berlin. Berlin, the Seoul station, which was the American sector. We got out of the car, and it was the first time that we have seen food. We got fed by, I don't know who that was, but it was good food. It was the first one we'd seen in about a week. After we ate, we were divided into 3 groups, one for the American sector, one for the French sector, and one for the English sector. My mother, my sister, and I, we got lucky. We got into the American sector. We had here assigned us a room with a couple which with my mother actually known. This was not relatives but friends. He had a 2-bedroom apartment in Berlin, and he assigned us 1 bedroom and a shared kitchen. Now the kitchen was a different problem because Berlin at the time had about 3 million people living in Berlin, plus about 5 million refugees who came through Berlin. Food was rare. It was a daily undertaking to find food. Not a lot of time. We were lucky to get some. One day, about a week into this, I was standing in front of our house while an American carload of soldiers came by. One soldier, I believe it was a black soldier. To me, he looked like about 7'8", tall, 500 pounds. It was a big guy. He came to me, lifted me up, and put me on his shoulder. My mother was upstairs in the window. She was hollering, "Leave my son here, leave my son here." And he turned around in broken English, or broken German at the time, and said, "I bring him back." We marched for about 20 minutes. Then we arrived at the barracks where they were living. Oh, this was about a mile from where I was. He took me into the washrooms, talked to a soldier. I couldn't understand what he said. He took me into, made me a bath, not a shower, a bath. Put me in there, washed me. Then he cut my hair. Well, it was the first time I got the so-called Mickey cut, the American, the soldier cut. Well, I liked it. About a half hour later, the soldier came back. He had an armful of clothes. He clothed me from the underwear to pullover, jacket, and a cap which says USA on it. Then he took me into the kitchen, the mess hall, and fed me. After I was done, he already had a big backpack there. It was one, I don't know, it was taller and wider than I was tall at the time. He put a backpack on his shoulder, on his back, and me on his shoulder again and said, "Come on, let's go home." He brought me home. He knocked on the door. My mother opened the door. And he said, "Here is your son." And then he took the backpack full, but whatever was in it, I didn't know. He gave the backpack to my mother and says, "This is for you." And then he left. We got in, she opened the bag. She found all kinds of stuff in there, coffee. We never seen coffee. This was not coffee made out of grain, what we Germans were used to. This was real coffee, hot chocolate, honey, white bread, bunch of flowers and potatoes. It was amazing, actually. At this time, I said to my mother, a couple of weeks ago, I got told by Russians, "Go to Hitler and let them feed you." And here I am, an American soldier, took the son of a Nazi, washed him, fed him, clothed him, and brought his family food for at least a month. I told my mother then, I was 5 years old, one of these days, I want to go to this nation who is so generous to their enemies. I want to live there. About 24 years later, or 23 years later, in '68, I was lucky to jump off the boat, actually was a plane, in Chicago. And I became an immigrant into the United States. A legal one. My dream for the United States really fulfilled itself. I started out with $20 in my pocket. That's all the money I had. We was hired by a company out of Milwaukee, P&H Cranes, who had a little subdivision in Schiller Park, Chicago, at the airport. When we landed there, and picked us up from the airport, we got a car, a 1966 Chevrolet. I had a driver's license, but I never had a car. The next morning, about 6 o'clock, I couldn't sleep. We were in the O'Hare kitchenettes on Mannheim Road. I went in the car, my partner who came with me, he was still sleeping. I took the car out. I stopped at the street, went over the street, a block further there was red lights. I stopped at the red light, waited until it was green, then I took off over the intersection. Before I was over the intersection, blue lights on your police first responders was behind me and flagged me down. I had absolutely no idea what I done wrong. I didn't speak any English. As I was trained in Germany to get out of the car and don't do anything, just follow directions. He talked to me, I couldn't understand him. First thing I done, I reached into my coat and gave him my international driver's license. It was a booklet about 100 pages large. He filed through it and shook his head. Then I gave him my German driver's license. It was about this size, folded. He looked at this. No, this is not what I wanted. So I took my wallet out of my pocket and put it on the hood. He opened the wallet, and I had 2 $5 bills and 1 $10 bill in there. He took the $10 bill out, gave me the wallet back, and said bye-bye. So this was my first experience with the first responders in Chicago. Now, yes, I had a good laugh about this and warned my colleague, which came a little bit later, and be careful in Chicago. As of today, I do not know what I done wrong, but I was $10 less rich. Well, about a year later, or 3 months later, I got my family into the United States. Well, most of you know my 2 kids, Angie and Ute. Ute is the older one. 1 year later, I built my own house. Never would be possible in Germany. 4 years later, in 1973, I came to Hot Springs on a 3-day vacation. I stayed in the Bel Air Motel on Park Avenue. Just so happened, this guy who owned the motel, he had ulcers and he was in pain. When I checked in, he said, I wish somebody would come by and buy the damn thing. I talked to my wife, and she said, well, we don't have any money, but you cannot buy it. Well, I said, well, he said, if somebody comes by, let's see. I talked to him. He said, yeah, you want to buy it? I said, yeah, but I don't have any money. He said, don't worry about this, I finance it. And how much is this worth? He wanted $100,000 for it. I said, no, I don't have $100,000, it's too much payment. He said, okay, 75,000. I said, no. Okay, make it 70. All right, it's $70,000. He finances for 5%, 10 years. And this was in October 72, not 70. In January 73, we moved from Streamwood, Illinois, to Hot Springs, just before the races. And it was great. I tell you what, I had more money in this 3 months of races than I ever had in my life. One year later, I went out to find a job as a machinist in Hot Springs. There were none. And the few who was there, they wanted to give me $2.80 per hour. I told them $2.80 an hour from people with my skill, absolutely not. I expect a motel. Well, I went to the banks, asked for money for the motel. They said, no, go to Little Rock, talk to the industrial, Arkansas Industrial Development. I went there. He said, you're from Hot Springs, hotel? No. What you talk from? Where are you from? I said, Germany. Why did you come here? What was your qualification? I said, I'm a machinist. What kind of machinist? I told him anything what has to do with metal. He said, okay, let me give you to a guy who will be in charge of this. His name was Jimmy Taylor. He was just freshly out of college, was a CPA. And he said, Mr. Porter, tell me a little bit about you. Well, I told him that I'm a machinist and I want some money for the motel to act large. He said, no, will not happen. But if you're a machinist, tell me about you. I told him all the machines which I can operate. He said, all right, find yourself a machine shop. We will finance this. I never bought a paper. The next day, or next Sunday, I bought an Arkansas Democrat paper at that time. I believe it was Arkansas Democrat. There was an ad in, machine shop for sale, Little Rock, East 9th Street, called Ronshank Machine Shop. I went there, looked it over, the machines, they were older than I was. I think the youngest machine they had, it was about 1930. But when they had about 6 people working, they looked like busy. And I talked to the owners. The owners, they were a Cadillac dealership in Memphis. And I said, yeah, we want to sell it. I asked him, how much you want for it? Well, it was about acre lot in a high society quarters, East 9th Street. And he wanted $120,000 for it. I said, no, this is not worth $120,000. I thought myself, well, I paid $70,000 for the motel, maybe I offer him $70,000. I did, and he said so. I said, okay, but we have to get financing for this. He said, all right. I went back to Taylor and told him I bought a machine shop. He said, let's go take a look. He did, and we bought it. I got told I was the first white man in Arkansas who got a SBA loan. This machine shop, after about 1 year, they had about $80,000 sales. I improved the sales in the very first year to about 150. After 5 years, it was about $600,000. And we went from a hillbilly machine shop into a manufacturing of hydraulic cylinders. This was my specialty, actually. In 1980, we moved here to Hot Springs. In 1990, I sold my company. Out of $20, when I sold it, I was a millionaire. I lived the American dream. And still do, actually. My kids were the first one in my family who had a college education. My grandkids, one of them had my engineering skills. He works for a military outfit, he cannot say what it is. When I was working in Melrose Park, not Melrose Park, Elk Grove Village, for a company called Skill Manufacturing. I machined the welding system for the moon rover, which is still up on the moon. But the proudest moment in my life was Memorial Day 74. That's when my wife and I became American citizens. As of this day, there's no day better than this one. On Memorial Day 74, I became an American, not a German American, not a European American or African American. I'm definitely not the LPG, XY, or whatever this is, American. I am a American. And thank you, America, for this opportunity. God bless you first responders. God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Look at the beautiful day. We have all these firemen down here. We're hoping the police will come. A few policemen have been here. And we do it because they need to be honored for what they do for us every day. You know, they may drive us crazy when we get a ticket on our car, but the reality of it is we can be safe because they do their job. So that's why I'm here, to make sure they know people love them and what they do.
I'm here with my longtime friend, General Arwood, and I would like to just ask you one simple question. Today's a very important day, General, and you've been to a lot of important days, but what's in your mind, why are you here?
Oh, I'm here because of the team of first responders. If you recall, many years ago, in 1992, I was responsible for Hurricane Andrew in Florida. And a phone call off to Florida and 250,000 people out of habitat. And the Defense Department got the job and we are so much better in this nation today. It's proven itself in Carolina. Everything's in place. People work together. They do it ahead of time. In Florida, for example, we had to be totally out of power, and somebody said, "Hey, we can get somebody else to help." No, I think and I gotta say, an awful lot of it, in my opinion, is veterans. Give us a lot.
Well, we appreciate all you've done. Appreciate you living here in this area of our country. It really brings the level up when we see you.
But it's a good place. You know what I always said, the best thing about Arkansas? The people.
Yeah, we're just here for the First Responders Parade, carrying Major General Arwood, and in the parade, brought my old 51 Ford, just supporting Hot Springs and our first responders.
Here's all our wonderful food for all of our wonderful first responders. We are so proud of it. Yes. There we go.